I don't think people really know, or at least people from the outside really know the ins and outs and what really goes on behind the scenes, man. It gets ugly. It gets ugly. You know, it gets ugly, it gets personal.
Yep.
You know, but I mean, you did what you had to do, and now you are where you're at today. Coach, I want to ask you before we close one more question. Mm-hmm. You've been able to coach, a lot of players. I mean, we can't go through them all today, but we talked about Julius. But there's another player who's reached the highest level, and that's Cade Cunningham.
Yep.
Recent number 1 pick in this year's draft.
Yeah.
I mean, unbelievable. I remember watching him and Mike Miles and the Little Balls Life mixtapes back then. And then just to see him now, 6'7", 6'8", Grant Hill type.
Yeah.
As Rashad Phillips says, a dual forward, I guess you can say, do it all. So what do you think his ceiling is? What are you most impressed with, and how did you discover him? For sure.
Derek Shelby put together that Titans team, the little baby Titans as we called them.
Yeah.
And he's the one that put Mike Miles on there and a bunch of other kids on. Cade was one of them. And so I always tell everybody, Cade Cunningham became a point guard because Mike Miles was such a target. You know, he's this little kid that's got a 5 million view Ball is Life video in China. I mean, he went viral.
Yeah.
And so every kid wanted to go in there and punk Mike. He was so small, but he was so fancy with the ball, and the emotions would get the most of him. And his mother would look at me and she'd go, "Take his butt out," right? Like that. And Cade was the second option. We didn't have a real second option. So Cade, because he was a little bit bigger, and coaches don't understand this a lot of times, they think the point guard has to bring the ball up the floor. We used to let Julius Randle bring the ball up the floor because the guy guarding him is a 5 guy. It's not a 1 or a 2 that's going to dog him.
I had to guard Julius a couple times, bring the ball up the floor, so I know a little bit about that.
Yeah. And so
mismatch.
We would let Cade bring the ball up the floor because the biggest kid on their team's guarding Cade, or the second biggest kid on the team. And Cade was a willing passer. He was a willing participant to help make the game easier, easy to coach. Mattered to him on defense. I mean, he took defense. He had great pride in his defensive abilities. He was a great teammate. And his mom and dad are an amazing couple. Just all about the team. I never had one issue ever in the history of the Titans with Cade's mom or dad.
Did you have the same? Because I know you shared about your thoughts and feelings on Julius growing up. You knew that he's league bound. Did you feel the same way about Cade, or was he like a late bloomer?
Late bloomer. We knew he was going to be good, but I think probably the best thing that happened for Cade is when he went to, there's a lot of kids you look at and go, he's good. It's like hell. I grew up in a town where Tracy McGrady came from. I watched Tracy McGrady in the summertime.
He was from.
He's from Auburndale.
Yeah.
I went to school with his mom and dad, and I go in to watch Tracy play in the sophomore summer, and I see him, and it's obvious he's the best player that's ever come out of Auburndale. It used to be my town, I told everybody, but then he showed up, and I knew he was going to be good, but I didn't know he'd be the 5th pick in the first round of the NBA draft. And so Cade, I didn't look at him and go, he's going to be the first pick in the NBA draft. I don't think Cade ever thought that. Honest and truly, when if he's a 9th grader, he's a 10th grader, he knows he wants to play in the league. His brother Cannon is a guy that had a massive amount of ability, and Cade wanted to be like Cannon, but Cannon I don't think was the guy that he didn't want to put in all the time necessary to be great on that level, and then he turned around and invested it in Cade, and because has an incredible brother that he is, a very smart guy, really good basketball player. Cade's got an amazing sister, but that family's very loyal to each other, and they looked out for each other.
Right.
And so when he went to Mount Verde, I think what it did is it put him in a situation every day where he had to compete against elite level players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they played against elite level teams.
Competition.
That's what kind of drew him. And him going to play at Oklahoma State.
Perfect.
His brother was a coach. That's where Kenny was, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but here's what I'd say this. He took a bunch of kids, his teammates, that they're good players. Don't misunderstand me. But one of the coolest things was the guy was saying, the kid at Gonzaga is better than Cade. I go, not even close. So stop it. He goes, oh, look how it is over here. You put Cade Cunningham with Gonzaga, the game's 100 times easier for all those, because he's playing with those. That kid that played at Gonzaga is playing with guys in the NBA. Those are all NBA players. There's not a lot of NBA players that are playing at Oklahoma State right now other than Cade Cunningham. Maybe there's one or two. I don't know. But that team was pro-ready at Gonzaga. You put Cade on the team with the Gonzaga, it's an easier deal. Cade had to overachieve, and Cade had to do so much more to carry Oklahoma State. It put him in a situation sometimes where he looked bad, where he takes some bad shots because he had to do so much.
Titans, man, you guys just always seem to just find those diamond in the rough guys. I don't know what it was, but I mean, you guys were just very successful in a quick, short period of time. Are they still going? Or?
No, it's over now.
Yeah.
But we were blessed. You know, Matt Jones, one of the greatest human beings God's ever put on this earth.
I love Matt.
You and me both. Yeah. Mickey Mitchell. You know, and but it really, when you talk about the Titans, honest and truly, it starts with Kenny Trout, who is a man that grew up in the projects, dirt poor, and when he created the Titans, he took everybody and made them all equal. Every family equal, every player equal. We all ate at the same table. We ate the same food. We stayed in the same hotel. There was no, you're better, you get this, you're better, you get that. No. Kenny Trout made us all one, and he provided the best opportunity for these kids growing up how to become young Christian, responsible young men. He treated their families with all the respect in the world. He made us all better.